Welcome. Welcome back.
Yeah, welcome back to episode 2 of the Ben and Kayla travel podcast.
Yep.
I don't think we've come up with a name for it yet, so
If you have name suggestions, let us know.
yeah, give us a shout. We'll keep doing this if we get shout outs for podcast names.
We committed to 3 episodes. We're on episode 2, and then we'll reevaluate and see A, if people like these, B, if we like these.
That's important. I kind of like making these. These are a little bit lower pressure than some of like the more studio videos. I feel like I'm not as obligated to like pre-plan those as much because I feel like the studio videos I spend a lot of time pre-planning those and like almost writing out a script and then kind of trying to develop it. And anyways, welcome back as I try to refocus us onto today's topic. And what is today's topic, Kayla?
Today's topic, we're talking about travel challenges. So travel challenges, I mean, honestly, around anything, but also around like content creation.
I think we're going to touch on that for sure.
Yeah, and we're going to be really honest about some of the challenges that we face. All right, so I'm going to start with, what is your most unexpected challenge that you faced while traveling?
Oh, unexpected challenge. I mean, we've definitely had times where flights are delayed or like even missing our flights like due to the delay. And I think those are always like unexpected challenges, to be like exact to your question. Because I think on one of our flights to, I think it was to the UK, was it to Scotland?
Mm-hmm.
We had, I think, like 3 stops in that.
Oh, we missed our business class flight.
Yeah, so that was really
Yeah.
kind of stressful because we had kind of like used points and like a few things to like book business class seats, and they were like really cheap and affordable. So I was like really concerned that because we were taking our first flight and it was delayed by like an hour and a half, and we were going to land in Charlotte with like 10 or 15 minutes to like make our next flight.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, I don't know if we're going to do it.
Not even, like barely 10 minutes.
Yeah, it was very close. And then like even in the plane, it was like, and that was pretty stressful because the people in front of us were actually on the same flight, and they had told us that the American Airlines had like called them and told them that they needed to reschedule their flight. So they went ahead and did that. I had like already like looked in the app and it was already recommending that we change flights, but I hadn't like committed to it yet. But then the app, like once we boarded our first flight, it wouldn't let me change our second flight. So I had to call them, and like I was on the plane, like we were sitting at the gate, and I was like on the phone with American Airlines saying, hey, can we switch our flight because like 10 minutes is not enough for us to make it all the way from like one of the furthest concourses to the other one. So that was stressful.
Yeah, the travel, the transportation stuff is always kind of frustrating because there's not really much you can do about that. You just kind of have to be decisive in the moment to like make quick action.
Yeah.
But other than that, there's really not much you can do.
I think that was also a little bit disappointing because like I wanted to spend basically a full day in Edinburgh. I was confident that they were going to lose our luggage from the first flight. Like 10 minutes was not enough to transfer our luggage. So I was like, yeah, that's not going to happen. Which surprisingly later we found out that our luggage actually did make the first flight. But for some reason in Heathrow, our luggage did not make our flight. So like the luggage got lost anyways. So like we've had some luggage challenges, and I feel like that's also something that is a common challenge that we face on traveling.
Yeah.
And so like I've very quickly become like not attached to my luggage that's in the checked part of the plane. Like I mean obviously mostly the stuff that I bring on board has to be electronics because, you know, packing that in luggage is like just a bad idea. And I'm not going to put like camera lenses and stuff because I just feel like the bags get tossed around. So I always get, you know, really nervous about that. So I specifically put stuff in my luggage that I'm like okay with losing. So I feel like that's like a quick travel tip. I mean, I feel like everybody knows this, but if you're like an earlier first time international traveler, most of the time they will get your bag to you at some point in time, but sometimes it can take like 24 hours for them to do that. So like if the next flight is not till tomorrow, they'll put your luggage on the flight for tomorrow, but you may have to go all the way from, I don't know, like 8, 9 a.m. whenever you arrive to, 10 a.m. the next day. So obviously you can like buy goods and things like that, but if there's anything that you need that's very important, just put it in your luggage or put it in your backpack. Don't put it in your luggage.
I've started, and this is like a hack for, I guess, girls or boys, both. I've started putting like a tiny toiletry kit in my backpack. And because my toiletries, I mean, I have skincare, I have hair care. Like, so it's too big to really fit in my backpack that I bring on the plane. So I honestly have.
Did you take the first class kit? And is that the one?
I took the first class kits or like the business class kits or even the premium economy, whatever. And I keep like the dental kits and stuff from those. So I use the bag. I use the bag and I just keep the dental kit in it. And then I'll put in like a mascara, a deodorant, and like a comb or something just to like get me through if I do lose my bag. And then I typically have any of my medications I keep in my backpack, anything that I have to take, or I'll just be annoyed that I won't have, right? Like vitamins and stuff.
Or a toothbrush. Like, yeah.
And then I always keep, I don't know. I carry like little kits of things. Like I have little kits of like wet wipes and like random stomach teas and things like that. And I'm going to segue kind of from your travel, your
travel
transportation stuff into the other travel challenge that we have unexpectedly is when you get sick while you're traveling, because that's happened to us a few times and it really sucks. And especially if you're not like a full-time traveler, like that's precious time that you're kind of losing due to being sick. So
that stresses me out. I mean, that's one of my like when you have like a 2-week vacation, even a few days of being sick is really rough, especially if you had like planned to see a specific area. So that's a challenge. I
typically carry like Advil. I carry some tea that's like a stomach tea. I carry those vitamin C packets, like the emergency packets. I'll throw those in there. We have masks. We have like hand sanitizer and stuff like that. What else do we carry? I try to bring stuff that you generally commonly use at home. Yeah. Like, anything that would be your like first go-to if you're sick is probably something that you should put in there. At least something that can get you through like 24, 48 hours, even 72 in some cases. Because in most places when you're at, like unless you're in like a remote rainforest or something, and I think both of us got sick in like the high desert of Chile, which is kind of really rough. That's something that try to get supplies where you are as well. So like, don't forget about that. Yeah, you can absolutely get supplies where you are. I just have those little like travel thing of Advil and stuff just for like a quick, like the 24, 48 hour part. Like you got to be able to get through that without getting to medication, because sometimes you either don't have the energy or you can't get up or it's just too much effort or, getting there is too difficult. So, well, like I always get a headache when I travel, always. And even if I'm drinking lots of water, I know you were going to say it's because she doesn't drink enough water. Not hydrated. I will drink a lot of water and I still get headaches. I just think it's from like the dry air, the plane constantly, like I just don't love flying anymore. Maybe I'm just getting older. I don't know, but I always get a headache from it. And having Advil on me for when we land and I need it, it helps me get through the day. Think about the flight attendants that fly every single day. I mean, that's why we get them chocolates, because I couldn't do what they do. Yeah. I would just get headaches every day. So I'm sure they have some hacks to like keep themselves going. Those little toiletry kits you get on the planes, super helpful for packing little like kits for your backpacks for carry-on. So keep those. Yeah, what she means is like we've gotten zip. They're like little American Airlines pouches. They're like pencil pouches if you're ever in pencil pouches. Like elementary school, like back, the millennials and Gen Z, like maybe you guys know as well, but like you used to have to buy pencil pouches, and that's exactly
like the size of them, and you just fill them up with small needed items and you're good to go.
Yeah. So getting sick, transportation issues, I feel like those are the two big ones that really kind of hinder things. There's expected challenges too, but that's just cultural. Up next is how do we handle burnout or travel fatigue while we're on the road?
Ooh. I normally don't get much travel burnout. I think, maybe something that like most people would describe as like a travel burnout is something that like kind of happens to me like after the first week or week and a half of like if we're doing like a 2-week trip or longer, the first week I'm normally like I gotta like go, I gotta get all the footage, I gotta like do all the things and schedule all the stuff, and I feel like really like obligated to do all that for the first week. But normally by the second week I'm starting to realize like this is a pace that I can't keep up. So like maybe that is kind of like a burnout thing. In those cases I typically try to find, and you've probably seen it in our videos, like we find a little bit more chill activities.
Yeah.
That's why like sometimes we find gardens. That's why sometimes we find activities that are not as hectic. Sometimes get overwhelmed with like the hustle and bustle of like big cities, especially when we are like trying to go everywhere, do everything.
We experienced that in Europe. We took a 2-week European trip a couple years ago, and we went to like London and Brussels and Bruges and like Luxembourg, all these places. And then once we got like past there, we were like, I'm kind of tired of cities.
Yeah,
and we kind of just booked a place in the Black Forest and stayed there for a few days. And that was honestly a really good like reprieve from the cities.
And sometimes I feel like maybe that's burnout. Like me, and I'll be honest, like I don't know if I've really experienced true burnout the way other people have, but I think that's probably like, I don't know, like sometimes I'm just tired of cities and I want to see what else there is to offer.
I think there's different types of burnout.
Yeah. And I don't know if that's just like being tired of something, and maybe that's like a level of burnout.
I feel like travel burnout is kind of like when I would rather be home than traveling, like I'm just like, oh man, I kind of wish I was home right now.
See, I almost never get that feeling though.
I feel like, but I think that's maybe due more to like exhaustion. And I think we get a lot more burnout when we go to really hot places.
Oh yeah.
Like Japan was really, really hot. Japan was extremely cool. Awesome. Absolutely loved it. But it was too hot in August, July, whenever we went.
It was July.
And
we were warned though too.
Yeah.
So like we were warned, we had planned. It was just when we were able to get time off, and so we made it happen, with what we had available.
Yeah.
But I definitely think at some point in time, like we got overwhelmed with the heat, and I feel like the same thing happened to us in South America as well.
Yes, and Costa Rica. We thrive in cold places apparently.
Yeah. Apparently we're starting to realize.
But that I think contributes to a lot of our burnout is the heat, because we're outside all day long. We're walking 20,000 steps a day. We're filming everything. We're just sweating and probably not drinking enough water.
I feel like you're complaining, and I don't want it to come off that way.
No, I'm just saying that's how we get burnt out, is because we do that stuff. And then in order to like fix it, we just have to kind of like slow down for a day or two and kind of recoup. Because I think it's more of our bodies getting like just exhausted from the heat and stuff that we put ourselves through than it is.
And I'll be honest, like I generally try to keep our videos positive, because I understand that it's a luxury for us to be able to travel, and there's a lot of people out there that probably can't travel the same way that we travel and can't enjoy the same benefits that we enjoy. So I understand it's definitely a privilege to be able to do this. So I feel like mentally that is something that keeps me, like away from the burnout.
Sure.
But I also don't want it to sound like we're complaining. I wanted this podcast and this like little segment that we're doing is to trying to keep it real.
Oh no, I'm not complaining.
No. I know you're not. I'm just saying, like, I wanted to be honest with anybody who's like listening right now, is that like we're just telling the real side of like some of the things that I think other people play down, where like you should be aware that these things are normal and are not abnormal to be in hot climate and be like, at some point you're like, we just need a break. Like,
And that break is like a snack and a nap in an air conditioned room.
yeah. Yeah.
And
So
then we're good to go.
that is a true thing, is that like we are Americans. So like we are used to air conditioning,
Yeah.
which is something that I think I was really shocked with. We went to when Costa Rica did not have air conditioning. I think there was definitely places
in the Atacama Desert.
In the Atacama Desert where like one of the hottest places on earth, they just no air conditioning.
In a desert.
In a desert where it gets to like 130 degrees and they're like, nope, no air conditioning. It's interesting because, you know, like we absolutely survived, and it wasn't even miserable, to be honest. Like I didn't complain. Like I didn't even feel the need to complain at all. I think the only time that I struggle with that is I'm like a cool sleeper, and so I want like cool air to be around me while I'm sleeping. Mm-hmm. I guess I'm a hot sleeper, but I want cool air around me, and that was like one of the things that I was like initially for the first night struggled with getting to sleep, just because I wanted the room to be cold and it was still cooling down from the outside air. It would be another hour or two before it dropped.
Yeah.
But all right, what's your next one? I feel like we spent forever on that topic.
Yeah. What are your go-to travel hacks for staying sane during long travel days?
Oh boy. I don't think I've ever really struggled with that.
He drives me nuts on travel days. He stresses me out because I could never do what he does. I like to bring books on my Kindle. I want to make sure that I have books downloaded. I want to make sure that I have some music in case I want to listen to music. Maybe a couple shows. I don't watch a lot of TV, but like maybe just a couple shows just in case on my phone or something. I'm like, I do not want to be bored and like alone with my thoughts on a plane, right? and Ben is like, oh, I'm going to trust that the Wi-Fi and stuff on the plane is working and just wing it. And that just stresses me out because I am not that type of person.
Yeah. I mean, I've gotten burned a few times, but I don't think long travel days have ever really bothered me that much. Like it's not, I know that there are some things, and we actually, you know, hint, hint, nudge, nudge, we do have some long travel days coming up.
Really long.
Like in the future. So, you know, stay tuned for those, subscribe. Just gotta get that out there. You know, we gotta pay for these trips. You know, like there's a few hacks. I don't think that there's anything that is like totally abnormal. I mean,
I think it just depends on the type of person you are.
Yeah. Because I don't mind. Like if I have to go 2-3 hours without having something to do, like I can just sit there and enjoy being on an airplane, like enjoy traveling, like, you know, look around, look outside. You know, that doesn't bother me too much. You know, try to get some sleep in. I don't really sleep on airplanes, but I try to get some sleep in. So if I can get, you know, I don't know, on like an 8, 9, 10 hour flight, if I can get 2 hours of sleep in, I feel like that's a huge change in like what it feels like when you get there. But audiobooks, I think, are a key. I try to at least have like one audiobook downloaded on my phone, or at least something that I can do. You know, I always bring my laptop on an airplane. So if I can get the Wi-Fi working, you know, obviously you could do anything you want then. I mean, you can browse the internet, and Wi-Fi has gotten so fast on planes. I mean, I remember when Wi-Fi was like first coming out on airplanes, that it was essentially dial-up speed. Like it was so slow, and it was like unbelievable, you know, that you could even get on the internet. But now they have it, you know, with Starlink and all the other like brands and stuff, like you can even stream on airplanes now, which straight up mind-blowing, the fact that you can stream from Netflix or whatever. And I've seen even some airlines are like moving away from even having a library on the plane, and they're just like, hey, like some of the domestic Delta flights, they have internet, like it's just free for everybody on the plane.
Yeah, that's like a new development.
Yeah, that's like a 2025 thing. Like,
yeah.
And I've seen a few other airlines like announce that they're going to be doing that. So outright shocking for me to even.
But he did this like when Wi-Fi was still like really sketchy on planes and stuff.
Yeah,
he'd just like walk on, and it's like hopefully it works.
Yeah. I'm like, well, I mean,
Like,
I still get burned international flights. Like, there's straight up dead zones and stuff like that. But
yeah.
I'll just watch the flight map. What is that called? Like, there was a whole thing about that.
Oh gosh, yeah, he can just watch the flight map forever.
What's the?
I mean, I can too, but
What's the meme? Like, there's like a meme about it of like it's called like raw dogging a flight or something. Like,
yeah,
that's what like
yes,
people were calling it that. Yeah, like I'm not.
he raw dogs the flights.
Yeah, no, I'm not that hardcore. But I'll listen to music. I always have like my Spotify library downloaded.
Those people must be so stable to just like raw dog a flight with like just their thoughts.
Just their thoughts.
Yeah.
Kayla's terrified of just having to sit.
Like, do you know what's gonna go on in my mind in the 8 hours?
We're gonna have to practice some meditation over here. We're gonna do some. All right. What's your next one?
Well, let's talk about some challenges that we face with content creation while we're traveling.
Oh gosh, I can get started on this one
Okay.
because then you can fill in where I miss.
Yeah.
Content creation is something that I naturally enjoy doing as part of like a hobby. So I get really excited to do it and to take all these videos and to record things. I love looking at the way that light interacts with things, and it's somewhat of a challenge for me because there's two parts of me. Like the first part is like I want to capture like almost documentary style, like exactly what we're doing, to capture the environment and go on. And then the other part of me, which this is the part that I think is a bigger challenge for me and something that I always want to work on and want to continuously work on, is I want to make it look beautiful too. Like I want to make it look, I hate the word cinematic, but it's like so commonly used, but I want to make it look cinematic. I want to make the light look beautiful. I want to like bring people to the video, but I also want to tell it in a truthful way. Like I also like the style, documentary style. I grew up on National Geographic. I grew up on a lot of like, Travel Channel, and a big influence of mine is, Anthony Bourdain and all of like the travel stuff, channel stuff that he did. And I feel like that show really captured both sides of like getting the story and the amazing experience that is happening and the culture, and then somehow simultaneously being able to capture the beauty of the landscapes and things like that. And I think, that's like, the interpersonal challenge that I have, but let's talk about some more like realistic challenges. And it's really like gear challenges. I always want to bring as many lenses as I can fit, but I also have to be able to carry that on my back for multiple weeks on end. I want to be able to capture almost any situation, so that means like, I don't know if we're going to go swimming. Well, I can't, I'm not going to bring my dive case for my FX3 if I know that we're going to a location where, there may not be swimming. So it's like, I can't just pack that in my bag just because. So now I need to like bring a GoPro because I need some like a waterproof camera to be able to capture those type of events. Or if we're doing some like action oriented stuff, I have to bring the right camera for that. And then if we're doing like safari or animal stuff or things are going to be further away, I would love to throw my 200 to 600 lens in my backpack, but it's like 2.5 pounds, I think, roughly, maybe 3 pounds,
it's big too.
With all the extra stuff that I had to bring with it. And, you have to bring ND filters and things like that to kind of get, the exposure correct, because, with photography, which is how I kind of got started, it's a lot easier to just have your shutter speed be ridiculously high and be able to take, shots and not care about it. But with video, there's so much more. And I haven't even touched on audio. Like audio is a whole nother thing and so when I tell you that there's like a lot of gear that I bring, and I think that was a challenge for me in the beginning, was making sure that I'm bringing all the right stuff, making sure that I'm getting the highest quality, and I've learned over 5 years, and right, just remember that like we're not full-time content creators, so this is not something that we do as a day job. So I'm sure if there's probably people out there that do some of this stuff regularly and they're like, I learned that in a few months. Like, yeah, it's something that we don't do regularly, so it's going to take us like a little bit longer for us to learn. And sometimes we have mistakes that have to go for an entire series. Like if I don't bring a gimbal for the South America series, I have to live for the whole 2 weeks without a gimbal, and then when we're releasing videos, we're going to release one video a week from that. Like, you're going to see us be without a gimbal for that entire period of time. So like, you're going to see my mistakes over probably a 2-month period, which is kind of hard, because it's like, once I learn from that mistake, I can correct it on the next set of videos, but I can't correct it on like the next day or the next week of videos. So bringing gear is like a challenge for me of what to bring and like how to do that and how to capture audio correctly. And I started out with smaller cameras. We went to the FX3, which I love the quality of that. I've also, come to realize that it's often more important to capture the story and get good audio than necessarily have the video be amazing, which I still mentally struggle with that. Like, the FX3 just looks so much better than everything else. And so when I'm doing color grading, like later on, and like trying to bring things to life, like when I'm comparing that to the Osmo Pocket 3, it's night and day. Whereas, I've heard a lot of people say like, oh, they're basically the same. And it's like, oh,
no.
Like they are not. But I think that's also like one of the things where I've realized that if we do an entire vlog on an Osmo Pocket 3, there's not going to be a big shift in quality. So, when we start filming a vlog or an episode with one type of camera, like we stick with that one type of camera.
We try, yeah.
Yeah, we try. And, because intermixing footage and stuff, it makes the edits take longer. It makes the quality like really, really different. But I never let that hold me back from getting the story.
Yeah.
So, man, I just went off here about like all the challenges that it takes to make content. And
all that being said, though, I think you have a relatively curated kit that you take with you now, and you just switch out specific pieces based on the type of trip that we're going to take.
Yeah.
So I think you've curated it really well.
Yeah. And I have a base kit now that I expand into like segments that I need. And I think all of that is to say, like, if there's somebody out there who's watching this, who's thinking about, doing content, I've got some expertise in it, and I've got some technical ability in it, and I've spent a lot of time studying and looking things up. But I want to be honest that the best way to get started is just to get started. Like, iPhones are incredible, and that's one of the things. Like, iPhone released log footage for their iPhone. So like, man, just get out there and start shooting with your iPhone. Download the Blackmagic Raw app, and the quality that you can get out of iPhones is so good now. Just do it, I guess. But yeah. And I try to remind myself of that too. Like, as we take footage and stuff, like if I forget a camera, I try not to get too frustrated about it, because I just try to pull out my iPhone and try to like capture part of the story as best we can. And we do that sometimes when we go to dinner, because bringing a big camera to dinner is kind of somewhat feels a little inappropriate, but we also like want to capture it. And it's kind of tough to be in like a big fancy restaurant and be like, all right, like,
yeah,
let's set up a whole thing here, and like, can we get more lighting over here? Like, yeah. It's kind of tough.
Unnecessary attention.
Yeah. But, I think two of our primary ones are the Osmo Pocket 3 and the FX3. I think both of those have kind of made it into my permanent kit. I think we try to bring those almost everywhere. And those cover probably 80% of all situations that we get ourselves into. But I know I made this like a tech talk. I didn't mean to.
It's changed from like, this is my challenge to here's what's in my bag.
Yeah. But that's a big challenge for me. I mean, just not bringing enough gear, actually capturing content. I think everybody understands the struggle with that. Because if you've gotten home and looked at your camera roll and been like, all of this sucks, delete all. Like,
what some people probably don't understand is that when you're vlogging and you're traveling, you have one chance to get a shot. And so
maybe two, but
most of the time you really only have one. Yeah. You're doing it on the fly. And so not every shot's going to be great. And if you don't get it, it can be kind of disappointing, because you really aren't going to get a second chance to do that. But that's just kind of part of travel vlogging, is you take what you can get, and then you have to accept that you're not going to capture everything that you want. Something also that's another challenge for us is that since we don't travel full time, we kind of struggle sometimes to get back into vlogging when we go on a trip. So if we're taking a 2-week trip, it can take us like an entire week to get comfortable and back into the flow of vlogging again.
And that's making videos every day. Like,
yeah.
I think on average it takes us 3 videos, like 3 days.
Yeah.
And which is,
I feel like you see the change in the vlogs too. At least we do, because we get better at what we say. We're not just always saying random stuff or whatever.
This is interesting. This is cool. We
know what we want to say and what we think people might want to hear, or like what would be important for people to hear. So we get really good at that, like once like day 3 to 5 comes, but in the beginning it can be a little rough. So that's kind of a challenge.
Catchphrasy and like say the same thing, and we're uncomfortable in like in front of camera, and it's hard for us to. I
do think doing podcasts and stuff at home might actually help keep us in the mode or whatever.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I mean, and it's still awkward talking in front of people in public.
Yeah, there's always that. You don't want to film in public, and there's just some embarrassment around it. But also, if we try to think about it, a lot of people, the camera is also a conversation starter.
Yes.
We've had a couple negative interactions with the camera, but not many. We've mostly had people come up and be like, hey, that's a really cool camera. Like, what are you doing? And
are you guys on YouTube? Like, yeah.
It's a conversation starter. We've met some really cool people all around the world. It's also sometimes a really small world, because sometimes we meet people from the US and it's like, hey, we have a lot in common. Like, we're really not that far away from each other, blah, blah, blah. So we've met other vloggers. We've met other vloggers at least twice, 2 or 3 times in our travels. And that's been pretty cool as well.
I will be honest, like, I'm not an extrovert. Maybe I look like an extrovert on camera, but I'm not.
You're way better at talking to people than I am.
But if I see other people with a camera, like a vlogging camera, or they're making like a YouTube video, I'll try to wait for them to stop shooting, and then I'll try to walk off and say hi and like ask questions. And it's nice to meet people who are doing like something similar to you, or even like in the same industry, and it's cool to talk to them, because it's always cool to meet people at different levels. There's definitely people that we've met who have had
millions.
Like millions of subscribers, and they've got like a very organized system, a way of making content where they I don't want to say like they're a machine about it, but they're essentially like so skilled at it that they're able to produce content on demand, and they know exactly what to do. It's their full-time job. It's something that they work on. They make 2 to 3 videos a week without breaking a sweat, and it doesn't seem to overwhelm them. And some of them have people behind them helping them make those videos. And then we meet other content smaller creators, kind of more to our level, or people who are just getting started out. And it's really interested to kind of talk to them and be able to answer questions about our journey. I know that our subscriber numbers probably don't match up with some of like the content that we've made, which is sad, but I also understand like how challenging of an industry this is. And if this is something that is not your day job, it's not something that you're doing full time, there's definitely a barrier to entry. Whereas, people being able to go on networking events and things like that,
Yeah, it's just a hobby for us. But I think in the beginning it was a challenge to like really enjoy the trip, and then like a balance between like enjoying the trip and filming. But I feel like it's kind of become second nature for the most part for us to kind of film while, you do most of the filming while we travel, so maybe that's not true, but I feel like you've gotten pretty good at just like filming as you go and still enjoying and like being present on the trip. Yeah.
And it's still a balancing act. Like I won't tell anybody that it's not a balancing act. Something that filming has really helped for me is, I generally look around more. I'm trying to be more aware of like what's going on and where the lighting's coming from and where the people are and where everybody's looking and where Kayla's going. But I like, I try to have things, planned out. So I try to be a little bit more connected to like what's going on and what's happening and kind of like heads up. And, the camera is kind of a second extension of me. And that's good and bad, right? Like the good thing is that I capture more footage that way. I capture more things that way. But if I could be more focused on like what the camera's doing and what I'm capturing, obviously I feel like the quality would get better, and I'd be able to do enough shots, like repeat shots and things like that, to get the higher quality cinematic, once again, like effects on things, and be able to carry things out and catch mistakes early, because nobody sees any of the mistakes that I mean, they see some of the mistakes, but nobody sees all of the mistakes that I make with the camera. Like if I take a bad clip of something and it's just unusable, or it's only partially usable, or it's too shaky, or it doesn't really make sense in the vlog, I mean, we just cut it. Like I
get to see all the mistakes.
Yeah.
And add some entertainment to my my editing. But I still it's a hobby, and we like doing it, and it's really fun so even though we have some challenges while we travel with the content creation, it adds a little bit of technical challenge to our traveling. The reward is that we now have this collection of videos of moments from our travels, and I get to go and like look back at those at any point and remember things that I've forgotten that we've done. Yeah. And then I get to see it on TV, and I'm like, man, that was really fun, and I didn't even remember that we did that. Yeah. So that's kind of a cool thing to have. It's just basically like home video videos reel. Yeah.
That we share externally.
And that's kind of the real purpose that we started this, was to document it for us so that we can look back on them as well. It's turned into being kind of a fun community online and stuff. I think we don't get that many negative comments and stuff anymore, which is really great. And people have been really nice, and some videos spark a lot of conversation. Sometimes they spark a lot of conversation between people that like they're just talking to each other in the comments, and I think that that's really cool. And I think sparking a community is totally worth some of the technical challenges that we come across. So all in all, we have lots of challenges while we travel, but you're always going to get challenges when you travel, but just
that's part of it.
Take a breath, step back, figure out how you can solve the problem, and then learn from it so that you can take steps to mitigate it in your next trip. Yeah. So,
and it's normal to be frustrated or mad about it. It's normal to be like, I wish we would have gotten there at the time that we were supposed to get there. I wish that, I didn't lose my bag. I wish that I didn't lose my iPhone in the back of a taxi. Like, being frustrated about it is not abnormal.
Find something that cheers you up, go out to dinner, go get a coffee, something, take a deep breath, and just
it's all part of travel. It's all part of the experience, and sometimes really the journey is the reward.
Don't let it ruin the rest of your trip. Have fun, and hopefully our struggles help you feel a little bit better on your next trip. Know that you're not alone in your challenges, and we all face them. So I think that's it for this podcast. I think we've talked plenty, and we're going to do at least one more before we decide to keep doing this. Let us know if you like these. If there's anything you want us to talk about, let us know in the comments below. If you're watching on YouTube, thanks so much. If you haven't subscribed already and you like us, then go ahead and subscribe. If you don't like us, it is what it is. I'm just kidding.
That's fine. I mean, they're not everybody.
And then if you are listening on any of the other platforms, Spotify, things like that.
Are we going to release this on Spotify? I think you said that in the first one, and I don't know how you're going to get it uploaded.
We haven't released the first one yet, so I'll have to look at it. But if you're listening on Spotify, go ahead and give us a follow. Maybe comment down below.
Can you even do that on Spotify? I guess you can follow.
You follow and you comment.
You can comment? Okay. Yeah,
I listen to my podcast on Spotify, Benjamin.
Okay.
But again, thanks so much for listening and watching, and we'll see you next week. Be kind and travel more.